Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the best show of the best shows, where we talk about everything from comic books to even social commentary. This is episode number
4
of For Canon's Sake. So whether you're a normie, a wannabe expert, or a tryhard, get in there. And now, for your host, Mr. Eric July.
Yeah. Give me a mic check. I'm coming in hot too, real hot. What's up? Episode number 4 of For Canon's Sake. As Brother Vinny just said, I am your host, Eric D. July. Kind of got this episode out late, very late. I don't like waiting a week in between podcast episodes. So that is not going to be the plan. Let me just say that is not going to be the usual thing. We're going to do better. I promise we are going to do better. But today we are going to be going through my pull list for last week because, again, I'm a little late. Forgive me. But we're going through the list for last week. We're also going to be talking about a subject matter that I've discussed before, and that's making myself available. Now, what does that mean? Making myself available. We'll go into that a little more into detail later on in today's show, but for sure, we got to pop this off. We have to. Well, something I was talking about last week, talked about before, but I kind of did a couple of live streams last week on this subject matter. So I think it's very, very appropriate to talk about it more so in the long form, with me actually thinking a little more about what I'm saying and kind of not popping it off trying to read donations and all kinds of things. And I do appreciate that. All you guys, be it over at the YouTubes or the Patreon or whatever you're supporting me, I do appreciate that. Tuning into the live streams, all of that. I appreciate it. But remember, the point of the podcast is to try to go in depth with certain topics that I may have discussed or I may have on my mind. Now, social justice warriors don't know how to write comics. They can't. They can't write comics. What exactly do I mean by that? And who are these social justice warriors, SJWs, that I'm talking about? Well, it's quite easy. It's not a secret. There are individuals that are wanting to hyper sort of emphasize sort of aspects of social justice or things that social justice advocates tend to adopt, right? Tend to support, tend to again, be advocates of. Be it social justice in itself or some loose form of it, radical egalitarianism, that sort of stuff. We'll talk about that here in a little more, but, along those lines. And they have infiltrated comics. Mainstream comics. Now, a lot of people would say, well, they've always been there. Look at this issue of X-Men. You don't like those Justice Wars, you must not be a real comic book fan, right? Because they Googled it. They Googled it on the spot, right? They Googled some X-Men comic that talked about something loosely. And they went to some fandom Wikipedia site typing, because they don't read comics, by the way. So I guess we could say they can't write comics and they don't read comics. But X-Men, as I've always said, is proving their ideas to the contrary. X-Men is not an example that there have been social justice warriors in comics since the beginning. That's false. What it actually proves is to the contrary, that writers aren't as on the one. They don't use X-Men to be as on the nose. I would even argue with Rosenberg, who's doing the current X-Men run, Uncanny X-Men. We talked about this last show. issue number 17, which went through this whole sort of wolfsbane. She gets killed. She wants to be this normal girl. The guys that stomped her out because she tried to holler at some dude. Or no, excuse me, other way around. The dude tried to holler at her. And he's like, what do? You try to trap people, try to trap normal people, pretending like you're a normal girl because she's a mutant. And then they stomped her out. And they use terms like trap. That's clearly mutie. Those terms are clearly talking about or giving nod to maybe people that like transgendered people. And I would argue just like that, a lot of the X-Men runs in the past that may have loosely talked on, let's say, relevant social aspects. Social justice warriors think everything that they advocate is good, and everything good is social justice warrior, right? Or social justice, right? But acknowledging, let's say, some sort of cultural thing, social thing, does not mean that, first of all, it's social justice. But number two, and I guess the most important, so we'll move it back to number one. Number one, X-Men proves the ideas to the contrary, because what they've done, like they did in the recent issue, is they've used the fact that they're mutants maybe to depict certain ideas, social issues, like the one I just mentioned. So it's not on the nose, and that has multiple interpretations, just like you can interpret it like some biggest that stumped out some transgender person. You can interpret it as a person that ended up getting themselves killed because they are fighting with their own identity, or they thought that they weren't being themselves. Let's say that they got killed because they weren't being themselves. That's a life lesson that you can learn from that same exact thing, right? So it's not on the nose like a lot of the current social justice warriors are, which they have their letterer come in and literally say, hey, I'm a social justice warrior, or I'm an advocate of this, or I'm this. Prime example. I just gave you a Kenny X-Men issue 17, which I believe is 17, which I think was a great way to handle a social issue. I think that sort of represents a lot of what the X-Men runs have depicted and how they depicted social issues. But then you take something like Kelly Thompson's, and I hate to rag on Kelly Thompson. I think I was maybe a little too harsh on her before my live streams, right? Because says she can't write, and I think that's not fair. I think she can write something. She's clearly able to write something. They wouldn't employ her. She's clearly writing something. But I think she has an issue. She doesn't do it all the time. Well, she has an inability, because now we have two runs that have done this, but she has an inability to do what that of maybe like, again, Rosenberg did with X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. She can't be subtle. She has to be on the nose. She doesn't know how to, it's like she doesn't know how to do that. Or she's still going out of her way to do that maybe on purpose. And again, I guess that still speaks to the former, that, that's not good writing, right? That's not good writing. So it speaks to the idea that, again, they can't really write comics. Now, is Kelly Thompson a social justice warrior? Look, I don't know all of her politics. I have no idea. But if we take what she did in Captain Marvel, issue number one, the recent number one. I know she has 17 number ones, but I'm talking about the recent number one, the current run, where Nuclear Man pops up out of nowhere, inexplicably just pops up out of nowhere. He's the villain of the week. Just pops up, starts down talking women, which is sort of, if you consider machismo, where these guys come from. All male land, talking down on women, and you can read it and you're like, okay, that's kind of weird that he pops up and he's just doing that. It's like that was specifically put there to represent exactly the things that he's saying, right? Again, it's not like there's multiple interpretations. No. Nuclear Man is there. He's there to talk down on women. And then literally Captain Marvel says that she's not going, well, all right, set the scene. Nuclear Man takes off to a portal, takes this reporter girl with him. And Captain Marvel says, again, she literally says, it's like we're seeing this in text. I'm not saying that it's implied. No, she said it. She's not losing her to a 7-foot misogynist. She literally said that. Like, that's not me saying, like, well, it's implied. No. Nuclear Man pops up, he's talking down on women. That's not implied. Again, that's sort of his thing. That's not implied. Her saying that was not implied. Carol Danvers saying, I'm not losing her to a 7-foot misogynist. That's not implied. That's something that she literally said. She literally says that. Don't take my word for anything. Go look it up. Look it up. Issue number 1. It's the first issue of the run, man. Well, obviously it was her idea, but I start to gripe when I see stuff like that happening. I start to gripe at the editors and the people that are facilitating that. They have to be looking at that and be like, look, man, all right, if you're going to look, you got to be a little more creative than that. Come on, man. That's too on the nose. You're giving away your agenda. There's no undertone there, right? That's a complete overtone, I guess. But the reason why I brought up Kelly Thompson specifically is because she did it again. In a recent issue, that's issue number 9. I believe it's canceled now. West Coast Avengers is canceled. She was on that current run as well. Recent run. West Coast Avengers has always really been a goofy ass squad to me anyway. And the current run isn't that good at all. But in issue number 9, Gwenpool is talking to this black punk chick. She has these fishnets, blue hair or something like that. Timberlands, well, short shorts, Timberlands, and fish. I don't know. Maybe that's how people dress in the West Coast. I would never be the guy to knock somebody for how they're dressing or what color their hair is. I can't knock them for it. I might call it out, speak on it, which is what we're gonna do here. But I can't knock them for it. You dress how you want to dress. That's your business. Who am I? But when I envision, and you call it stereotyping or whatever, when I envision a social justice warrior, a caricature, that's almost exactly what I think of, this goofy chick. And the chick says something along the lines of, and by something on the lines, I don't mean the implication. I mean, like, I don't have it pulled up right now, so I can't get the exact quote. But it's something along these lines. This is in there. She says that she is a surfing champion and she owns her own small business, successful business. And she's black. She's a black woman, black female surfing champion that owns her own successful business. That in itself makes me a superhero. That's what she said. Again, not implied. Just like with the Captain Marvel thing, not implied. Literally said. Just like with Captain Marvel issue number 1, do not take my word for it. Go read the current run. And it's filth all through it. But go read the current run of West Coast Avengers and you can check it out. If you go to my stream, I have the screenshot where I'm pulling it up, where I talk about this. So I'm not making this up. This isn't, well, you're over exaggerating. No. This is what it's literally said. She said that she was a black female. It's a complete. Well, oh my God. Black female surfing champion who owns her own successful business. Therefore, that makes her a hero. That's what she believes. This is how social justice warriors see themselves. And it's that in comic book form. Completely unnecessary. I'm reading this like, come on, bro. Like, really? Really? Let me get in. This is how they see themselves. Like, this is how Kelly Thompson isn't this black woman, I don't think. But that's how they see themselves. It's probably, I guess she wrote that in and was like, yes. Jesus Christ. Come on. And again, I think maybe I was too harsh on Kelly Thompson in my stream, but I think that's a proper representation for the state of a lot of these goofy ass comics, where you get random tidbits in there. Even Al Ewing did that in a random tidbit about white males have done this. Like, come on, bro. And Al Ewing is of course a white male. Like, come on, bro, get a grip. And in the current Immortal Hulk, Jesus Christ. But to be fair to Al Ewing, he didn't do a terrible job. But I think he has a bunch of other writers that helped him out with No Road Home. And that was a solid story. Solid. But Kelly Thompson, man, I don't know, man. But I want people to understand what's going on here, right? People that are advocates of this leftism, this nonsense, social justice, but just leftism in general, whether they want to call themselves social justice warriors, that's not really important. Because I don't think most of them would even call themselves that. Some will, admittedly, and those tend to be the loony ones. But it's just a typical leftism. We're seeing it in the comics. It's infiltration. Let's call it what it is. Infiltration, and by infiltration, I mean they're letting their stories have to represent their own personal ideology, and that is what makes a bad comic book writer. And I'm going to tell you why. It makes you a terrible comic book writer, or you don't have a grasp of your emotions. Because to me, some of y'all may disagree with that. That's fine. Certainly willing to hear you guys out on that. But me personally, what makes you a good writer? If you're writing a mainstream character pre-existing that already exists, throw this out the window. If you have a creator that you solely created to be this type of person. But what makes a great character, a great writer, is somebody that can take characters that exist that they didn't come up with, and they can write a story that's believable to that character. It sounds like it could be that character. See, all too often, and it is happening with the movie stuff, which is why you're seeing a lot of retcons of these classic characters. What's happening right now is that we're seeing people treat this like it's the canvas. It's their canvas. And that's not a good thing. And I'm saying this as an artist, as a person that makes music, that does art. Like I do a lot of ghostwriting. This is just a prime example. I do a lot of ghostwriting. When I do ghostwriting, and I'm scoping out the musician, right? Because that's a prerequisite. I have to hear your music. I can't just give you a flow. So I hear him out. Oh, this is the type of stuff that you want to write about. Yo, you want a song along these lines? Okay, bet, I got you. And then I write it. I don't write it like I'm the one saying it, though I'm the one writing it. I write it in the context of this person's delivery. When I do my bar scheme, my rhyme schemes, that's how I design it. Like, this has to be believable. I can't give him, if he's some, bare minimum or mediocre rapper, I can't give him this uber complex flow to write that will sound like something I would say, with all of these different rhyme schemes on rhyming whole sentences and stuff like that. This is metaphor, and that's not what he does. I can't do that. It's a similar approach to when you're writing a classic comic book character. I cannot take, let's say, I don't know. Let me just pull out one of these comics. Let's say who we got here. Let's say if I took, shoot, man, I don't want to go through the pull list, but let's say I took somebody like Mysterio and I turned him into a complete libertarian, ANCAP libertarian. That's not who he is. He's not an ANCAP. He's not a libertarian. I wrote a story and just out of nowhere, and that was what it was. I wrote it like it was me, like Mysterio was me. Come on, man. But this is what a lot of guys are doing, right, within the comic book industry. And they're getting jobs, and they're using it, again, they see it as their canvas. And they're like, well, instead of writing something that feels like it's this character, how about I write something that represents my ideological nonsense, what I personally believe, and why don't I inject that into the character, or more so into the comic? Even if I'm having like the side character say it, I'm gonna make sure it's looked at and they pop this off, they say this, and it's gonna be looked at in a positive light. And I'm going to do it so on the nose. So it's a combination too. Because Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, you can argue that she had feminist undertones when she first came out. So hearing her say that or allude to that, which she doesn't allude to as she says it, is one thing. So it's a combination of whether it be in some cases they inject their own politics into the characters. And in other cases, like, well, I am going to say this so on the nose that it's painfully obvious what it is that I'm trying to portray in terms of agenda. I'm almost guaranteeing you that that's how she sees Kelly Thompson. That's how she sees black women. I'm almost guaranteeing you. And if I'm wrong, she could tell me. She could tweet me. She say, "Hey man, you wrong. I do not see people like that. These black women like that." I'm like, all right, cool. I'm wrong, but I'm 100% confident, and that's just how she sees the world. They are superheroes. This is coming from, and I know that ain't the case. This is in a guy in a strong ass relationship with a nice black woman, right? They ain't all superheroes. Mine is. I say mine was. Yeah, most of it she is. But that's not the point. And we're seeing this crossover into the comic book movie industry, if you will. You're seeing retcons, girl power scenes in Endgame. You saw the Captain Marvel mess, the movie itself. It's a lot of that gimmicky sort of stuff going on, and it seems like it's going to increase. Writers, Captain Marvel, even if not with just Captain Marvel themselves, why was Marvel turned into a female? Old white woman. Why was Marvel turned into an old white woman? Wendy Lawson instead of Walter. Why did that happen? Why was the father, Monica Rambeau's father, removed from the picture? Why did that happen? Come on, man. Why did that happen? Why did it happen? And then I went and looked at the writers, and I was like, oh, okay. That's all I needed to see. You can take that in whatever way that you may. But what I'm saying is that looking at that garbage, it's nuts. It's completely nuts how people can be confused, at least to me, at why so many people have a problem with this. You're taking their beloved characters that these people grew up saying on maybe in cartoons, but more specifically, reading about them for decades. You're taking these characters with legacy and jacking them up. Why? And this is my honest analysis. This is just what social justice warriors do. This is what SJWs do. They infiltrate. They take what already exists. They can't come up with their own. Social justice warriors, they can't come up with nothing on their own. We're not going to get behind it. The vast majority of the comic book community isn't going to get behind it. If they come out with these social justice comics, it's just going to be nothing but social justice warriors that are going to be maybe into it, and it's going to be for straight ops. Twitter stuff. This is what they do. They don't be at the comic book shop on every Wednesday. They don't have a pull list. They may, go get dressed like Captain Marvel for a Twitter or Instagram photo. Take a photo of it, the type of people to maybe buy a comic just so they can say that they have it. Oh, Captain Marvel movie's coming out. Why don't I buy her new comic? Hey, I haven't even read this damn thing, but hey, I have it. That's the type of stuff that they do. But they're there to infiltrate. They're there to take you. This is why they don't have any problem with the retcon. Because that, to me, is inexcusable. Race changes, gender changes, that is inexcusable, and it's completely unnecessary. It is not required. It's unnecessary. It does not move the story. It's completely unnecessary. There's black characters that already exist that you can expand upon. There's female characters that already exist that you can expand upon. You don't have to ruin the legacy of other people. You don't have to ruin the legacy of Marvel. You don't have to ruin the legacy of Monica Rambeau. Having her look up to Carol Danvers, something that she has never done and has no business doing. You don't have to do that. You don't have to step on their legacy to just for the sake of boosting up this character. You don't have to do that. You don't have to change all of these characters into... Valkyrie doesn't have to be, even though she's based on Norse mythology, she doesn't now have to be a black person. She can stay white. That's okay. You don't have to race change these people. It's unnecessary. But they do it because of their gimmicky representation. Again, it's about their ideological nonsense. Representation is a gimmick. And maybe I'll do a whole podcast on it. It is a freaking gimmick of a concept that is reinforced by Hollywood elites, educational elites, so they can maintain control over your damn kids. Well, not even your kids, your teenagers, your adults. So they can maintain control and power over them by saying, hey, look at me, I'm valuable, right? Because I'm representing you. Buy my movie. Buy my CD. Watch my TV show. Listen to my podcast. I'm black. Hey. Therefore, I give you hope that you can do it too. Instead of instilling some sort of instead of having the approach of, hey, man, you own yourself. You are an individual. You are in control of your life, not me. I do not represent you. If you support me, thank you. But I do not represent you. You represent yourself. Take that as a sense of empowerment. It's not empowered. This is the fun. They use that term too. It's empowering, right? It's empowering. This black person's there in a star role, female star role. Empowering. Like, no, it's not. Empowering is getting that person to realize that they should not be looking up to fictional characters in Hollywood elites that live nowhere near you. The little gated communities, and I ain't knocking that. I'm all for that. Hell, I got the hell out of my city too. You know what I mean? I ain't knocking that at all, but I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. They don't live nowhere near y'all. They come to y'all functions and they protected by all kinds of security. They don't want to be, and they just see y'all for ops, man, for the photo ops. They don't mess with y'all like that. But for whatever reason, we're supposed to reinforce, legitimize this idea that because they're in the positions where everybody can see them, then they are empowering other individuals. Bull crap. You own yourself. You shouldn't be looking up to a gimmicky, a person whose job is to literally act, to be a fake, if you will, to be somebody that they are not. Looking to them and saying, hey, man, because you did it, I can do it. Like, get the hell out of here. But they do this. They infiltrate. And that's just what they do. They take things that are established, because the point that I was making, they don't create their own. They do, or it may not get off the ground, but they are having an ability to do that. So they got to take what already exists and change it to fit their ideological nonsense. That's what they do. That's what they do. You get all these diversity hires and all of this crap. And it's just, the problem, I think, is going to keep increasing until people continue to, we got to have content creators calling this crap out. And I ain't talking about just me. I'm talking about people that are listening to this. Y'all got to start calling this out. Y'all got to shun this and shame this out of existence. That's the only way it's going to go away. Until then, there are going to be people that don't read comics getting into the comic industry because they see it as the easy end, especially these diversity hires. See it as an easy end. Hey, if it makes you look good. You hired a woman. I don't even read comics. Not only have any sort of legitimate credential to represent this character, but I've wrote this and that. I ain't really into comics, but hey, it's an easy end. I know y'all gonna pay me. And I'm gonna use this character to certainly promote my ideological nonsense. It's writing, doing it in the comics, and this comic book. I don't even know if the movie people that write these movies even read the goddamn comics. I don't know. I can't look at Captain Marvel, the movie, and say, oh yeah, man, those guys are all about source material. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. That was criminal. But I want to segue into this real quick, and I'm not going to dwell on it too long. But I did mention it at the beginning of the show. I say things like this. I don't throw punches, and I don't hide my hands. I make myself available. Now, what do I mean by that? I make myself available, and what I mean by that is that that if you follow Willie, you would know if you follow my YouTube. I have called people literally to do a live stream and Skype them in because we got in an argument on Twitter. Or they said something that I took issue with on Twitter. I'm not your run-of-the-mill content creator. Don't respond to the haters type of guy. That ain't me. I'm not one of those, oh, it's not worth... No, that's not me. Even if we are name-calling on Twitter, and usually we go there if you take it there. I don't initiate that. But using this as an example, I don't go there. They let you go there, but if we go there, I'm still willing to have a cordial, honest dialogue with you. I'm willing to say, scrap what happened to you on Twitter, in the Twitter comments. Scrap what happened. Let's have an honest discussion about the topic that we're discussing. Let's have a live, honest, cordial debate. Because half of these guys that I'm getting into it with, Annons, anonymous people that hide behind blocks, I don't do that. And there's a reason, there's a good reason. And I think people are heavily critical that this is a policy of mine. But I make myself available because I want there to be honest dialogue, and I think it should be encouraged. All too often do we have people, no matter it be politically, socially, it doesn't really matter. Well, people live in echo chambers. They say things that they can only say and it'd be validated by people that agree with them. For the likes and for the retweets, for the shares. And then it's like anytime that there's somebody else that has any sort of dissenting idea, certainly if they have a following just as big as them, they'll block them, run away, stuff like that. That ain't me. And I disagree with that. I think that's corny. I think that's whack as hell. Let me be 100. I think you are whack as hell if you throw punches on the internet and you hide your hands. Nah, I won't have a live. You think I'm going to have a live discussion with you? All right, cornball. Why the hell are you on the internet talking down? If you are incapable of having live dialogue. See, there's a lot of nonverbal cues that are being missing. And you're still going to miss some of that stuff in a live discussion, but unless you're face to face. But you get rid of a lot of the communicative barriers on social media comments, limited characters on Twitter. You just don't pick stuff up, right? It's hard to have a back and forth dialogue. Everybody can Google information real fast. It's hard to tell if anybody really knows what the hell they're talking about, or they're just copy and pasting. It's hard to dictate that. But if you get somebody, you Skype them in, you go on their show, where you have some open dialogue. I ain't talking about no, all right, I'm gonna appear on your segment for 3 minutes, and I'm gonna have my 10. I'm talking about long form. Hey, let's have a discussion for an hour plus about the topic at hand. Are you capable of doing that? And I always welcome that. For those that disagree, people that are social, I would love for people to email me, info@ericdjuly.com. That's info @ericdjuly.com. If you take issue with what I said and you want to have a live discussion, even if it's off the record, I'm 100% up for that. I've mentioned somebody by name, Kelly Thompson. If Kelly Thompson thinks it takes exception to something that I said, I'd be 100% up for hearing how. I'd be 100% up for discussing it. Tell me your vision. And if I'm wrong in any sense, there ain't no shame in my game in saying, you know what, okay, I had you messed up. It ain't no shame in my game. But I think that's why we don't get towards a more peaceful society, more cordial society, is because the curse that has come with social media. It's a gift and a curse. I mentioned this before. The gift is that we've been able to connect with people that we otherwise would have never been able to connect with. The negative is that people have jumped in echo chambers, and now because of the likes, the shares, the retweets, the follows, people can pretend like they know stuff that they don't know. People can pretend like they're way more intellectual than what they are. People can run from debates. People can run from discussion. People can they don't have to have conversation with the other individuals that's on the opposite side. And I would argue that social media has discouraged that because of that element. So it's a curse in that sense. People are afraid to talk. People are afraid to talk. Certainly to people that they disagree with. But that's not me. And I make myself available because I want to set myself aside. And I just think that this is an honest thing to do. Certainly for somebody that has strong opinions, that has convictions in what they believe in, I have very strong opinion. That's not to say that I can take up every podcast offer. I can't do that. I'm in a band now. I've co-founded Being Libertarian. I got my channel. I got a house I take care of. I grind. I wake up early. I grind real late. I make my videos. I write. I got so much stuff that I'm doing, man. I'm working. So I can't talk to everybody. But realistically speaking, I want to make sure that I'm available as much as I can be available. Certainly if it's somebody that I'm talking about. Especially. We had this thing with Talib Kweli. Me and him got into it. He throws his punches, he hides his hands. Hey man, link up with me. Let's link up. Same with Maj Toure. It's the same thing with him and Talib. He was having an event. He's got does Black Guns Matter. For those that don't know, he was having an event out there in New York. he was inviting Talib. I said, I'll fly out there. We can all have a round table discussion about the topic at hand. He declines it. Talib Kweli. He is an internet fraud. Let's call him what he is, a fraud. When you do stuff like that, I got to call you fake. Because you talking noise on Twitter, but you're not even trying to really honestly, cordially engage with the person that you're out there down talking, spreading lies and gossip about. You're certainly doing that with me. Outright lying. And then when I say, hey, let's link up. Nah. Okay. You a fraud. And that would never be me. So I will, as much as I can, always make myself available.
Yo, Eric, you nerd. Quit with the mumbo jumbo and talk about some new comics. What's on your pull list for the week?
On the pull list for the week, and this is the week of, this is Wednesday, last Wednesday, when I was at the shop. So we're talking about, that's the 8th, May 8th. I got all my books right here that I picked up. This is what we got. We got Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue number 6. Introducing Spider-Bite. We got a new Spider-Man. As if the world needed any more Spider-Man. Look, man, I'm tired of it. I may do a podcast alone on this issue because there are way too many Spider-Man. There's too many. There's too many Spider-Man books. Too many variations of Spider-Man. It's just too much. It's not necessary. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, though, I did like how it started. We got that. We, of course, got the 2 War of the Realms books, Journey into Mystery, as well as New Agents of Atlas, which I think that this is a goofy-ass team. But I will most definitely do a video on that. But Journey into Mystery as well, that's been interesting. You got Miles Morales. You got some other guys protecting Thor's new little sister or little brother. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's also those 2 artists. So we got War of the Realms, New Agents, Journey into Mystery, as well as New Agents of Atlas. Those are issue 1s right there. We also have something that I'm really stoked for, and that's the Invaders issue number 5. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the Invaders, but the Invaders is doing some really interesting things with making this connection and expanding on this connection between the Submariner and Professor X. Professor X goes to Submariner, finding out that he's sort of got this mutant thing going on. He wanted the Submariner to help him wanted to find other mutants. So he was the first person that Professor X came into contact with, the other mutant like him. So it's interesting. Check that out. Symbiote Spider-Man. I mean, Mysterio is on this. I will be checking that out. Of course, I haven't done any videos. We have Wonder Woman issue number 70 and chapter 1, year 1 of The Flash, issue 70 of The Flash. So it's sort of a retcon. It's sort of not going through his origin again. So we will be going through some of that stuff as well. I may be doing some videos on that. But yeah, that's on the pull list for the week. Upcoming week, we got a lot of new comics coming in. Right now, I'm actually getting caught up on just comics in general, like Infinity Wars, Infinity, that is. So, going when Adam Warlock returned. So, because Kang, sent him back in time to go see his old self. So he's been buried for, centuries and whatnot. Then he finally emerges in the new century and the current year, if you will. He's there, and they are dealing with this. It's another issue with the Infinity Stones. Gamora's pretty cutthroat in it, so I'm getting caught up on that because I never went through it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna finish out. I got Justice League No Justice that I need to finish out so I can get finished up with some of this, the current Justice League run. And if you want to understand what's going on with that source wall and stuff like that, then you have to know that. So I'm getting caught up on, I'm so behind on a lot of old comics because I get ahead of myself and trying to get into the new stuff. So I'm trying to do a better job of getting caught back up on the old stuff, the stuff that I have that are just sitting in my long boxes. And I want to get caught up on that. So that's what we're doing. Got to get caught up on that. Got to get caught up on some of the Detective Comics. And I would love to do more and more material on some of that stuff, which I will do. Just got to get caught up. So most definitely flying through Infinity Wars, Infinity right now. We'll be caught up going into the Infinity Watch. Wolverine Infinity Watch. So all that leads together. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to finish that out. And I'm going to finish that out. And we're going to get back to the real, more videos and what have you.
That's going to do it for today's episode of For Canon's Sake with Eric July. Be sure to keep it locked for the best mix of comics and political commentary you'll ever hear. And I mean ever hear. To get caught up or to contact the show, be sure to visit forcanonsake.com.